morning, everybody. It is such an honor to be here and to pray with you guys and to have the opportunity to speak this morning. As previously mentioned, my name is Carly. And for my testimony to make sense today, you need to know one thing about me first. So for the past 10 years of my 18-year life, I've worked with, shown, sold, bred sheep. It's sort of become a family gig. And it's become something that I'm really passionate about. And so today I'd like to give you guys 3 stories about sheep I've worked with. The first one is Lucy. Now on the screen I'm going to play a short clip, and I'd like you guys to watch. That's Lucy. Lucy likes food, like a lot. If there's an opportunity, she is all in, and I respect her for that. So on this particular day, a bucket of grain got left out, and Lucy saw the opportunity and took it, and got her head stuck. And with the bucket on her head, the rest of the sheep were scared of her and ran the opposite direction, going, "What the heck is that?" Now, I was her shepherd. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't angry. I certainly wasn't disappointed. And my only thought was, "Oh, Lucy, let's be sure you don't get hurt." So I walked over, tapped her, took the bucket off her head. She looked at me with fear and ran off with the rest of her flock. Now, the second sheep I want to show you is Nora. That's Nora. Nora is cute. Nora is also high-strung. In fact, she's one of the most high-strung sheep I've ever worked with, and I've worked with hundreds. She's anxious, she's doubtful, and she doesn't come to trust easily. So a few times a year, we'll have to be pushing the sheep into a barn or a corral, and usually this is for their own good. Do vaccinations, shear them, health checks, stuff for their well-being. Nora doesn't realize this, and she doesn't recognize this. She sees a scary area and says, "Oh, heck no." So as we're pushing her in slowly, we're kind of guiding them along, being like, "Come on." It's almost every single time, without fail, that she will turn around, she'll panic, we'll have a standoff, because I know what she's about to do. She'll break my ankles and run off, actively making my job harder. And every time it's not, it's, "Oh, Nora." Because going in, I expected this. She's not this lost little lamb. She's actively trying to make my job harder. So the rest of the flock, seeing her run away, will scatter as well. So what we have to do is we have to leave them and go after Nora, the problem maker. But usually after the second or third time, with us being slow, she'll find her way to the barn. Now the third sheep I want to show you is Pearl. That's Pearl. Pearl's a lamb. She was born this year, smaller and later than the rest of the flock. She was super reliant on her mother. But about a week into her life, Pearl's mother died. Pearl was devastated, as would any lamb be, and as far as she knew, it was the shepherd's fault. She didn't come to trust easily. She had been rejected. She had experienced loss and hurt and pain. But we knew that. We approached Pearl slowly, and at first she would run away from us, even though all we were trying to do was feed her, give her life. But Pearl had to have meat enough to have a willingness to live, and a willingness to be saved. So with time and with patience, Pearl began to trust us. Now when I come out to the barn, she'll run up to me excitedly, ready to eat. And sometimes after feeding her, I'll zip her up into my jacket and we'll go do chores together. Because I care about Pearl. I don't care about her more than the other sheep. But I see what she needs. And it's my desire to meet that. I hope you know by now, maybe you figured it out, that I'm not quite talking about sheep, but about Christ the Good Shepherd and relation to them. And I want to remind you at least of this verse from John 10. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. As the Father knows me, and I know the Father, I lay down my life for the sheep. If you're sitting here and it feels a little bit weird to be compared to sheep, they aren't very glamorous creatures. They get their heads stuck in buckets. That's okay, and I invite you to pray with that. And if you're sitting here and you're going, I kind of relate to sheep right now, that's okay too, and I also invite you to pray with that. Because the thing is, we can all be Lucy at times. We can be maybe a little overindulgent. We can see something that we think is important. We can have addictions. We can have things that are comfortable, that aren't doing us any good. And we get our heads stuck in the bucket. We go after things and we're so hyper-focused on things that really don't matter. But the Lord's patient, the Lord is kind. He removes the bucket from our head and the blinders from our eyes and points us in the direction as long as we're willing. We can be Nora at times. We can be too doubtful and untrustworthy or untrusting and anxious in order to see what's good for us. We can panic. We can have a standoff with the Lord, break his ankles, and run away, actively making his job harder. But the Lord, with patience and gentleness, will bring us back home, as long as we're willing, because he knows what's best for us, and he has a plan for our lives. We can be Pearl at times. We can feel loss and pain and grief, and sometimes we can even blame the shepherd. But he knows this. He knows our needs. He knows what's best for us. And as long as we're willing, he's reaching out a hand. And if you're still unsure about whether or not you want to be a sheep with the shepherd, if being a sheep means I get to have someone watching over me while I sleep, if being a sheep means that I don't have to carry my anxieties and my fears on my own, if being a sheep means that loss and grief isn't the end, and if being a sheep means that I don't only have a shepherd that's willing to die for me, but did die for me, then personally, I want to be a sheep. At the end of the day, if you remember nothing else, remember this. Do your best to keep your head out of the bucket, and don't be afraid to be a sheep with a shepherd like ours. Thank you.